he might play the Hulk. Right now, I want to introduce you to this woman whose timing today is perfect after our TGPF call from Louise, who was talking about her chemo, and she called just after her chemo treatment, and she said, when I asked her how important laughter has been, she says it's been the most important thing. Laughter in the unlikeliest of places. This woman across from me has worked directly with geriatric and palliative patients as a rehabilitation assistant in healthcare institutions for decades, but with a very different approach to a topic that some may find uncomfortable, but it gives people more comfort than you can imagine. Palliative communication expert Zofia Dove, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Laughter in the unlikeliest of places. How did you even come to the realization at the beginning that this was important to someone's care?
I think it came naturally by being fully present in the moment with patients, fully engaged in the moment and paying attention to the signals they gave me. And I don't even know how it started, subconsciously, I think. Mm-hmm. But then the feedback started coming back. And people would say, oh, my goodness, you are like a breath of fresh air, you are fun, you are different. And so slowly, gradually, awareness was being like comments brought my awareness to that. Mm-hmm. What is happening? What I'm doing? And then I started asking people, even in the hallways, visitors, I would say, like, what makes the difference to the care here? Of course, compassion, people are caring, people are, understanding and all of this. But then they would start telling me, and the moments of smile and laughter, it uplifted the whole situation because it's so heavy already, And then I started asking friends who were survivors of cancer. I said, what was the element that made it easier? And that kept coming back to me. So I think it came naturally. The more I practiced, the more it was happening. And patients were very much so engaging. And if it's not the patient, it's the family member. It's the coworker. We poke fun at each other. Can I say hello to someone?
Go.
Marilinka, this one is for you. This is a lady I work with at St. Boniface Hospital who told me, we will put the radio on, Zofia, because it's the only opportunity we have to turn you off.
Let me tell you something about St. Boniface Hospital, by the way. That is where I had my surgery, and that is where I had my appendix removed, and that is where a lot of jokes were told.
There we are.
Some that you can't say on air. But, well, you're in very compromising situations. Like, you have people at their most vulnerable. And humor is a very good way to deal with those uncomfortable situations, even though it sounds like it can make people uncomfortable. If you're talking about, people who are in terminal situations, how do you bring humor in?
I think it gives an opportunity to release the pressure. That's what laughter does. There's pressure that's building up with all this uncertainty and fear around all of this and situation which no one wanted to be in. Mm-hmm. And laughter gives like this ignite to let it go. Mm-hmm. And I think.
So Zofia, when you're with your patients, so that we can understand, it's not just like you're coming in and you're starting to tell knock-knock jokes.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think it comes with experience, being in front of people and with people for all this time. But like we mentioned earlier, there is an element of tactfulness and definitely communicational, non-verbal communicational elements are kicking in because somehow in a very short time, I know this person is playing back the jokes, if you will. So that person is open, it's on that level or wants to be in this space. Someone else will be very reserved and very close, and I'll be far from going into this space. Sometimes it's the family member that is engaged, but I also pay attention to how the patient reacts to the situation, to this unfolding at the bedside. Mm-hmm. So it takes a lot of awareness, and usually I approach this with caution. So I start with definitely respect and kindness and building trust in small elements.
So if you're just joining us, Zofia Dove uses laughter in a very unlikely place. She uses it in palliative care. She uses it in situations where people are, one, absolutely not at their best, and two, are expecting the worst. It's very difficult situations, but laughter is one of the best medicines that you can give in a situation that can't necessarily even be medicated to become better. So give us an example, Zofia, of what you've seen, some stories, people you've met whom you've helped with laughter.
There was a patient I was attending to actually not that long ago, and of course the first time I came to the patient's bedside, he couldn't speak, Therefore, he started moving his eyebrows. And I said to him, well, this is the first time someone ever speaks to me with movement of the eyebrows. And there was a smile, so there was invitation to this. And from one to the next visit, one day I walked into his room and I was washing hands. And I said to him, do you like music? And he nodded. And I came close and I said, what kind of music you like? And I could read from the lips. He said, disco. I said, oh, my goodness. And that was genuine. That was my teenager years music. Well, the next thing you know, the man wiggled his hips right in the hospital bed under blankets and, giving me thumb up because that was also the music that was, important to him. Smiles, of course, were present. And would you believe that day when I was leaving his bedside, he kissed my hand as tiny tear was coming down his cheek. Oh. So there is element of appreciation and, engagement in all of this fun.
When you're connecting to people like this, do the doctors see this? Do the nurses see what's happening?
I get feedback from nurses. Quite often the family members who are present. Mm-hmm. I actually receive letters of references, which I keep to myself, as to what this uplifting situation, this energy did to the patients, to the family members, how it eased off this whole experience.
Well, you have to wonder then how important in med school, in nursing school, courses on this would be. How it's beyond bedside manner at that point. That's something different, because if this is having a positive effect on somebody's health, it's a very good way to weave that into our healthcare system.
Absolutely, Dalia, you were right on. Great observation. There is actually numerous studies being done about the benefit on our physical and psychological state, done throughout all over the world on using humor and laughter, in various situations, and how beneficial it is to our heart, to our physical well-being, psychological. All of this is documented out there already.
So because Zofia Dove is the expert on this, she's a palliative communication expert, and she uses laughter to help people out. I'd like to get some tips from her, how you can maybe use that with someone whom you know, someone who could use it if your next hospital visit, or just one of these situations in life. It doesn't always have to be someone in the hospital who could benefit from your laughter. So we're going to continue our conversation with Zofia next.
Talia on 680.
Laughter in the unlikeliest of places, but not water, because my guest is looking for water in her mug, and it's just not there. I'm sorry. Drink some laughter. She's doing it. This is Zofia Dove, and she uses laughter in very unlikely circumstances. She works directly with geriatric and palliative patients as a rehabilitation assistant in healthcare. She's been doing this for decades, and she uses laughter. And this has helped in it. Look, we had a call earlier today from a woman undergoing chemo, and she was talking about the importance of laughter as well when she gave her TGPF. So Zofia Dove, for people who have someone in their life who might need laughter, they're going to the hospital, how do you do this? Do you have to be a funny person to experience laughter with someone else?
No, I don't think so. It doesn't have to. I have no training, and every one of us has this funny element within us. We all like humor, therefore I think we can all be creating it. Mm-hmm. How do we go about it? I think self-depicted humor is the best route to start with. English, being second language, gives me this opportunity. I always say to people, find an excuse, and go with it.
It's hard to be funny in another language. It really is.
Is it?
Yes, and you're funny.
Well, what can I say? I always say to people, English is my second language, or I use another line. Every morning I pray to God to give me the right words and the right thoughts. So if I said something crazy, it's because of God. He gave me these words. There is ongoing feedback from my patients. I actually mentioned to one of the gray nuns I spoke to recently. I said, "Sister, do you know that God is feminine now?" And she said, "Really?" And I said, every second, on my second visit to the patient's room, they look at me and they go, "Oh my God." So that tells me that they were engaged and happy. How? I think make humor out of small things. Mm-hmm. Small things and the obvious things. Sometimes we are tip-topping around a subject too much, almost making it taboo. And people who are in the place of struggling, they very aware what's going on, aware what's going on, and they need that. So we have to tap into that lightheartedness within us to bring it to others.
Well, you have to deal with people. I mean, you're dealing with people who are dying.
Yes.
How are those exchanges like? Just the daily interactions with people who are dying.
You know, being honest brings it out. Being honest. Quite often I say to my patients, if I was in your shoes, I would be so scared. So acknowledging the emotions, and imagining yourself in the situation of another. Actually, I think this gift of imagination is the powerful one.
Tell us about an example of that.
When I work with patients who are in a state of delirium, and they will describe the world and how they're experiencing it in a way which is illogical. Mm-hmm. Of course, to my illogical mind at the moment, I can grasp it. What I do is I am imagining the world they are describing to me. And you would say that I am playing along. No, I'm asking questions to clarify. I am basically being present. I'm having conversation with them like I would have with you. Mm-hmm. And there is somewhere on a deep level, people know that I was in the same space with them. It also works when I work with patients who are treated for psychiatric reasons or depression. That being there, they describe to me the world, and all I do, I listen and imagine the world they're describing to me, as crazy as it can be. As crazy as my mind would say, this is unreal, no way it can happen, no way they can experience, there is something about it that's where the connection starts.
If you're just joining us, Zofia uses laughter to actually as medicine in palliative care with geriatric patients and, dealing daily with people who are dying. And even though you're using laughter, and even though, you're trying to find the bright spots in this, is it ever just really heavy? You go home at the end of the day and you've just spent a day amongst people who could be seeing their last days. How do you feel at the end of a day?
If I was having a part in someone's smile, mm-hmm. or frankly tears, because once the laughter happens, the tears follow. It seems like one emotion is linked to another. Mm-hmm. Once you're able to smile and laugh, all the rest follows. So people are able to cry. How do I go? When I go home, I just feel I was part of that moment, of that chapter of the journey. I've done my best, and I can't fully have control over the journey. But I know that in that moment, I did my best. And when I saw smile, I contributed.
You know what it sounds like when you talk about laughter and the emotions and the feelings that you get from this? It sounds like laughter is like a truth serum. Like people tell the truth. People are most open and honest once they start laughing.
Yes, Dalia, you're true. I think you're right. And I think because what it does, it minimizes the psychological distance between people and it puts us at equal level. Mm-hmm. Laughter is international language. I have friends here in Winnipeg from all over the world, and laughter is universal language. It connects people beyond logic.
Well, yeah, you even explained how you were able to use laughter with a man who couldn't even speak.
Absolutely.
What's something else that sticks out to you? What's a story from a patient that touched you? Because you must be able to write a book at this point with all of the stories.
Well, with this disclosure comes further disclosure. Mm-hmm. Then we tapping into what one would say psychological, spiritual experiences. That many are being denied. But when someone just listens there. So the laughter uncorks way more than one bargains for.
Give us a story.
Well, patients quite often. There was a lady who said to me, I was on the other side and I was going to the light. And it was amazing experience. And she said, I never told my family. And I said, why didn't you? She says, because I was torn about coming back. So there's an element, I think, of like, I don't want to tell my loved ones that I didn't want to come back to them, mm-hmm. But that's what, it starts with humor, with laughter, then crying, or this kind of stories are being shared with me. It goes into very deep spiritual spaces.
Do you see more and more this being accepted into healthcare? Because it sounds like this form of treatment that you give, even though it's not a medical treatment, it just seems as though this seems to be where we need to go.
Yes, I think where it goes, it's I wouldn't call it as much treatment, or it has profound benefits. I think I would call it more like practicing presence, mm-hmm. because with that being fully engaged with the human being in front of you and meet them in a place where they at, it just connects people in a way that is profound.
You're going to be sharing more of your story at Mo Mondays?
Yes, I will. I'm invited to speak at Mo Monday on June 13th. Although I will not be speaking about the stories linked to my patients, but I will be speaking about my public secrets.
Public secrets. I love it. I think I've got a lot of those, actually. Let me tell you.
Many of us, we are engaged in them without realizing we are. So I guess coming to this country from another culture, many things were very obvious to me. I'm fully engaged in them, and I'm still laughing at myself.
That's perfect. I laugh at me every day because it overwhelms the laughter of everyone else laughing at me. And if people want to find you online, Zofia, how can they get to you?
Well, they can Google Zofia Dove. .com, and they will find some information there, and they can connect with me through that.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Dalia.
In the air and on the ground.